Hello, today I'm going to talk about the first miracle, and it's part of a video series called The Miracle Choice Story. And in this series, The Miracle Choice Story, I'm going to be looking at miracles in my life, situations in my life that made their way into the miracle choice game. And I imagine you all have situations you can look back on and see, oh, well, that was a miracle in my life. Something happened there that changed my life from that point. And what I mean by a miracle, and what actually a miracle is in the miracle choice game, is a shift in perception. Somehow you see a situation in a totally different way than you did before. And the first miracle I'm going to talk about happened about 20 years ago. And I was in a relationship for a couple of years, and that relationship came to an end. In fact, previous to that, I'd been married, and so I'd been through different types of relationships. And in this particular relationship, about a month after it ended, I was invited by Anne, that's the name of my girlfriend at the time, who had split up with me. She invited me to a party, and I could see that Anne was getting attracted to someone else, and that made my misery and pain even more because I really hadn't gotten over her. And I was really tempted to leave the party and go to a different one because I had another invitation that evening, but something made me stay. There was something, I guess, deep within me ready to have a shift in perception. So I stayed the night in the spare room, and I woke up and I was really feeling miserable. I hadn't slept well, and Anne came in to see how I was doing, and she looked down at me and she could see I was miserable. And she said to me, "James, did you make your happiness depend on me?" And I looked up at her and I could see that she was serious. She wasn't just saying these words pretending to be somehow spiritual or somehow different. I could see that she really meant it. She said the words, "James, did you make your happiness depend on me?" And then up to that moment, I'd never thought of anything different. Why wouldn't I make my happiness depend on the person I was with? I didn't know anything about a relationship to that point, that where I could be in a relationship but not make my happiness depend on that person and what they said and what they did in my life. And so I let those words really sink in. And that's what I'm calling the first miracle, because within myself there was a shift in perception, a total shift in perception about relationships and where my happiness comes from. So with that kind of miracle shift, later on, about 6 months after that, I moved to the Findhorn Foundation, and I was very reticent about getting back into another relationship because I wasn't quite sure if I got back into a relationship again, I would get back into an old habit of making my happiness depend on someone else. So for a couple of years, even though I had moved to the Findhorn Foundation, a spiritual community where there's lots of beautiful, interesting women around, that I just didn't want to get back into another relationship for that reason. But I was also in the perfect place in a spiritual community to develop my relationship with my inner self. Because all those years ago, when Anne was saying those words, "Did you make your happiness depend on me?" she was living a spiritual teaching. She was living the teaching of a spiritual teacher called Anthony Domello. And especially his book, Awareness, was really important in her life. Even though I had read that book, she had really integrated it. And I'm just going to read you a section from that book now. And this is Anthony DeMello talking. "I remember how frightened I was to say to an intimate friend of mine, 'I don't need you. I can be perfectly happy without you.' And by telling you this, I find I can enjoy your company thoroughly. No more anxieties, no more jealousies, no more possessiveness, no more clinging. It's a delight to be with you, and when I'm enjoying you on a non-clinging basis. You're free, and so am I. But to many of you, I'm sure this is like talking a foreign language. You can become happy not being loved, not being desired by or attractive to someone. You become happy by contact with reality. That's what brings happiness, a moment-by-moment contact with reality. That's where you'll find God. That's where you'll find happiness. But most people are not ready to hear that. So when I heard those words, not from a book, but when my ex-girlfriend Anne said to me, "Are you depending on me for your happiness?" I knew that was a miracle happening for me at that moment. And that instance made its way into the Miracle Choice game. And one of the cards in the game that I'm just going to read now, it's a relationship card, number 8. And it talks about this situation. "When you're not in my life, I feel miserable. Please tell me you feel the same way, because I do not want to be the only one who depends on others for their happiness." And the miracle key in this card is, happiness depends on my inner connection with Source. So my time at the Findhorn Foundation really was developing that inner connection with Source. Eileen Caddy, one of the founders, was still alive at the time, and she was famous for saying that all you need to do is listen to that still small voice within. And that still small voice is the voice of love. And I gradually over the years became more and more connected to that still small voice of love. And I relied on that for my happiness rather than who I was with, what relationship I was in. And so that built up my connection to Source, my connection to my true identity. And then, just like Anthony DeMello said in his book, I was able to enjoy relationships because I wasn't needing anything from them. I was free in relationships, and I could let the other person be free because I wasn't making them responsible for my happiness. They could be free, and so could I. So it was a miracle shift in relationships. And I hope that when you play the Miracle Choice game, when you bring your relationships and your issues about relationships with you to the game and play it, you'll have a miracle shift during the game itself, because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to let you have an experience of a different perception of how you see things. And another of the cards in the Miracle Choice game, also based on this, is quite a beautiful card. It's from the section of cards called Miracle Cards. I'm just going to read that to finish with. This is Miracle Card number 35. "I feel wonderful when we're together and when we're apart. I'm never separate from love. We are never separate from love." So I love that miracle card. That for me sums up my relationship with my inner Source, my relationship with other people. I feel wonderful when I'm by myself. I feel wonderful when I'm with you, because we're never separate from love. Love's present when I'm with you in a relationship. Love's present when I'm by myself, because I'm never unconnected to love, and we are always connected to love. Thank you.